discussed this slide in our last session. We went through the various phases and the different process components that we and how they work, right? How the two-dimensional RUP model works. Now, advantages of RUP. There are many. This is why Rational came up with the RUP methodology. First, it is an iterative approach. It goes, Rational realized, Rational Inc., that in order to improve the quality, you just can't get it, you can't hope to get it right the first time, right? So you want it to be an iterative process, which means that you may have to change your requirements, right, in order to pursue a good quality. I mean, as you work towards it, you'll realize what is wrong, what do you need to change, and sometimes change could be to the functional requirement just so that you can improve the quality of the software. And hence, because there is an iterative approach, you can implement or allow those changes in the functional requirements. So that is a major advantage of RUP. Second, it allows you to manage your requirements. How so? RUP methodology, remember, you are gathering your requirements first. What is it that you need to build so that you can meet your objectives, right? So you have your requirements called out very clearly, right? When the requirements should be gathered, when do you break them down into functional requirements? How do you elaborate them? Correct? So you manage your requirements per iteration. You must also, when you say manage, you're also talking about everything. It's not just gathering the requirements, but you must analyze them, organize them, right? And analyze is categorize and prioritize. That's organization. So you're analyzing them, documenting them, validating them, right? So you it forces you to manage your requirements per iteration, per project. Now, same goes, because when you follow up methodology, they've come up with the tools. I'm sure I've mentioned those tools to you, right? Did we not talk about the RUP tools? Some of the tools. Yes, no? Right here. Right here. Look at the bottom half. Do you see the bottom half with the notes in there? All right. So they proposed all these tools for a reason. Rational Requisite Pro is an automated tool. It is an actual software which allows you to gather your requirements, analyze, document everything in one place. Okay? So this tool, is very critical, right? It allows you to trace your requirements. If you were to delete one of the requirements, you'd be able to understand how it impacts the entire, functionality, the software. Another thing to remember is that here, because we are following the object-oriented approach, we are going to treat every requirement as an object. And hence, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. So, do you also remember that we said that we will treat every requirement as an object and elaborate on how this object works? This is the detail that I was talking about, right? We will provide the development team the details on how this functionality works, right? Or how will the users use this functionality? So again, that is managing your requirements, isn't it? Now, if you knew what is the process, right? And you knew, now if I took away one of the processes, would you or would you not know how it impacts with, what else is going to what else will be broken in the chain? Will you be able to tell? If I removed one process, you would, Neha, because we're writing it down. Part of requirements management for RUP is that remember, you are documenting the requirements, what leads to the next, right? It's not just a list of functional requirements anymore. Okay, you're providing more details. So one process must lead to another process, correct? And when I remove one of the processes, then you can tell what else is impacted. The processes before and after will be impacted. All right? So another thing to remember is we're doing so many iterations. Every iteration has its own set of requirements that you're developing. All right? So again, RUP forces you to manage your requirements properly within the iteration and across iterations. We did talk about that, right, in our previous slide, that you must go through the change management process when you go from one iteration to next. Do you remember that part? Okay, so it forces you to manage your requirements. All right. Next, it forces you to build component-based architecture. What that means is that because our requirements may change over time, why? Because we are building to meet an objective, right? And if we need to change the requirements so that we can meet the objective more efficiently, then so be it. If that's the case, then the platform, the basic design and architecture of our software must be such, it must be flexible enough to accommodate any changes in requirement, right? Yes or no? So it forces you to build component-based architecture. Another advantage of RUP is it creates visual models now, which is again as important as the others. Why? Because many of us, if we draw it, if we see a diagram, if we see models, then it makes it clearer for us, right? Whether it is a model for requirements, whether it is a model for net present value. Can any of you give me your own net present value off the top of your head without putting together a model? No, right? How many of you, right, if you were to explain what a sun is, how many of you would be able to explain it if you did not draw it? There's a game, right, where one person thinks of something and tries to explain it to another person, and the other person must guess, right? You can't give the shape, or you can't give out words or clues, right? But you've got to explain. You can give out shapes, true, but it can't be very specific. Have you heard of that game? How many times? That's right. How many times have you seen people guess, accurately? How many times do you think the others who are supposed to guess what this person's thinking, how many times do they get it right? 50%. So if it is 50%, can you imagine if you did not have visual models, what are the chances of the developers getting it right? Same, right? 50% or less, right? Now imagine if Steve Jobs did not give the developers a visual model. Do you think the developers would have just come up with this brilliant idea? I'm not just saying just Steve Jobs, right? He was managing people. But it is a group of people who had this vision of an iPad and an iPhone, right? Do you think the developers could have come up with their own idea and developed it all by themselves? Now, if this team of visionary people did not draw this model, if they did not create this visual model, it would not have been possible, right? Just by giving a set of requirements to the developer. I mean, what you can't visualize, you can't build, correct? If you can visualize, then you can build it. But if you can't visualize it, then you can't build it. So the rational understood the importance of creating visual models, and that is a huge, big advantage of RUP methodology. Okay? When you build those models, you know how it looks, how it feels, how it works. You can anticipate. All right? Another advantage of RUP is quality management. Now, the reason why we do all those processes and tons of iterations is what? So that we can develop a quality software. Yes, no, maybe. Right? So, is there any other methodology that focuses on quality? No. Lastly, change management. Because change is an integral part of this methodology. It is one of those workflows, right, that we account for in our business, in our methodology model. So even rational, this methodology tells you how to control change, how to track change, how to document it, how to monitor it. Remember, we are doing it every iteration, right? So as you come across a change, you're not only making the changes to your document, but you're also documenting the change itself. Yes or no? So it's a very organized process, correct? So this is another advantage of RUP. Now, who can tell me the disadvantages? It is expensive. Why? Because it takes, if you're going to do so many iterations, right? Every iteration will take time. And any time if you're asking the same team to do it one time, twice, thrice, you must pay them for that effort as well, right? So time is money. Even if you have 7 people on the project and they do 3 iterations, each iteration is 3 months long, then just for one phase, they've taken 9 months. Yes or no? If there are 4 phases in all, 9 times 4, 36 months. So a project, if you only had 1 iteration, it could have been completed in 1 year. Now it has taken you 3 years to build it. You must pay your team for 3 years, right? Do you think they just work for you for the salary of 1 year? No. So it is an expensive project. 2, requirements can change, right? You are trying to meet a certain objective. So you have to incorporate change. You're focusing on quality, right? So in order to build a quality software, again, it's not only time consuming, but sometimes you've got to figure out where is it important, where is it critical, right? And When you're trying to build for quality, it costs more. Yes or no? So that's another piece. So expensive, for sure. What else? It is also very document-centric, right? You have so many different things to do. You're doing all of those activities per iteration, per phase. Tedious, right? Yes or no? The same requirements document being updated every iteration, every phase, right? For 3 years. Can you imagine that? So it can become very tedious. Another disadvantage is you need people who know how this methodology works, right? If you don't have developers that can build the component-based architecture, right? Do you think you'd be able to develop a quality product? Or if the business analyst does not know how to manage their requirements or create visual models, or the project manager does not know how to properly manage change, do you think it will work? No. Okay? So these are some of the big disadvantages as well. Okay? Typically, RUP is, if you can do one project using one methodology, you can do it using any other methodology. All right? So you can use the RUP methodology to build a website as well. However, is it recommended? Now, if you don't have to worry about cost and time frame, sure. This is, you can use RUP methodology. However, there are some projects which do not have that kind of flexibility, right? And if that's the case, then what? Then you need to figure out the other methodologies that will be more appropriate to that kind of project. Are you clear? Okay, so what are the different activities? I know I talked in detail when we went over the model, right? What are the different things that are being done in each phase? But I have these 4 slides that can help you remember. So, first, in the inception phase, remember this is object-oriented approach. So we must gather our business requirements first, right? And as we gather our business requirements, remember, gathering is just a misnomer. What do we also have to do? When you gather requirements, you must analyze, document, and validate. So you are doing all of this. Part of analysis of your business requirements is what? Breaking it down into functional, non-functional, technical, user requirements. Yes, no, maybe. Right? It is also prioritizing your requirements. So you do all of those. Based on your priority and your functional requirements, you realize which ones meet the objectives, correct? And then you put together your project plan, your timeline, and figure out how much it's going to cost you, right? Now, before we get into the requirements document, we must have figured out what is our vision objectives, right? Because in order for us to even evaluate our requirements and say which ones meet our objectives, we must have known our objectives first, correct? So the first thing that we do is understand what are we trying to achieve with this project, right? What is the scope of it? Next, we do the risk assessment, all right? Why do we need this project? What are the risks if we don't implement this project? And then we gather our requirements. Once we have our requirements, we then put together our project plan and our timeline and budget. We figure out how much it's going to cost us. Are you clear? Once you have done this, you have to hold a meeting. It is called your inception phase milestone, where everyone must agree that yes, this is the vision, this vision is correct, these are the objectives that we are trying to meet, yes, these are the requirements that will meet the objectives, these are the functional requirements, as when we analyzed our business requirements, that yes, these are the functional requirements, okay, so on and so forth. So they must concur, everyone must agree that this is accurate, that the requirements are completely understood. So when they agree, they must then sign off on the requirements document, that this is a complete requirements document. All right? The project cost and schedule estimates that we put together based on our requirements document, the priorities, risks, everyone must agree that this is credible, that this seems realistic at this point of time. All right? If you've built any prototype, remember prototyping is part of requirements gathering, right? So if you build a prototype, they must agree that yes, this prototype is correct, accurate. And lastly, as part of your project plan, right, you must have put together, we will need 3 weeks for our inception phase, and we will spend $200,000 on it. Well, have you exceeded it? Or are you on track? Why? Because if your estimates were 10% off, chances are that your entire project plan is 10% off, isn't it? Can you not tell if you are running 10 minutes behind, right? Chances are that when by the time you reach your destination, you will still be 10 minutes behind, if not more, right? Yes or no? Or another way to look at it is, if you are behind by 25% in your first leg of the journey, if you add, then you're 25% behind for every leg of the journey going forward, right? So you must adjust your time estimates, your cost estimates accordingly. So you will evaluate where do you stand so far, all right, and make the adjustments if required. Are you clear? You are not supposed to go into the next phase until you have updated your timelines and estimates and whatnot. So if an adjustment is required, then you need to go into another iteration. Are you clear? Nice. Next, you go into the elaboration phase. As the term suggests, you will elaborate on your business requirements, right? You will create all those visual models. So you are going to write use cases and draw use case diagrams for your requirements document. What else did I say? In the elaboration phase, it's not just that the requirements document is going to be elaborated on, but the development team and the QA team are also going to do some work, right? The development team will put together a technical design document, right? We will also look at the non-functional supplementary requirements and understand the dependencies. So if I want this application to be super fast, right, then I may need more servers. Yes or no? So there is a dependency, isn't there? Right? Now in the elaboration phase, again, I must also elaborate on the risks. So we had a certain set of risks going into the project, right? What have we done to eliminate those risks? Our requirements should reflect those, those tasks, right? Those activities that we've done. So we will reevaluate our risks, okay, and see if we've introduced a new risk. If we've introduced a new risk, then we must figure out a way to mitigate that as well. And old risks, of course, we should have found a way to work around them or to mitigate them. All right? Once you think you are done, your use case document, technical design document, the test plan, all these are done, then again you should have another meeting. Are we still okay with the vision, right? Or has it changed? Remember, there's nothing to say that your vision may not change in pursuit of something, right? If you're trying to build a software, your vision may sometimes change too. Because your quality, you want to improve the quality of the software. So your vision may change. Is the vision still stable? Will the architecture, right, the design document, is the design that has been proposed, is it stable enough? Is it good enough to allow changes? Is it stable, right? Will it allow people or the requirements to change? Is it flexible enough? Have all the risks been addressed, right? Is our project plan, time estimates, all of those, are they still credible? Is everyone in agreement with the current vision, with the use case document, UML diagrams, whatnot? And how much have we spent so far? What did we plan to spend for elaboration, and how much did we spend so far? Have we gone over or are we under? Now, if any of these questions come back as negative, right, it means that you need another iteration. You've got to go back and fix it. If everyone is in agreement, then you go into the construction phase. Everyone clear? So in the construction phase, of course, remember it's more about coding, right? Development. Development, as they do the development, they must also update the design document, the solution design document, correct? So that has to be done. Any integration of requirements. So I may have a user requirement that this has to be super fast, user friendly. Well, what does user friendly mean, right? So I may have to redefine it. So user requirement may have to be integrated with a technical requirement, or may have to be integrated with a functional requirement. Yes or no? So I must code for that as well, right? And as I develop, if I feel that development is complete, it must be tested. So the SQA must test to see if it meets the quality standards, right? So when they test, after they've done their test, we should have a meeting. The SQA team will then give their verdict. Is the product release stable and mature? All right? We need to say, do we think that this is good enough? Mature meaning no bugs, okay? No issues. Is it stable and mature? If the answer is yes, then great. If no, then you need another iteration. Are the stakeholders ready for transition, right? Are they ready to start testing? Or if they feel that, wait a minute, I don't think we missed, I think we missed a requirement. Do you think you are ready? No. Right? Are the actual resource expenditures, right? How much have you spent so far on the project? You would need to know that as well, correct? Alright. If everything goes well, then you enter the transition phase. Here you are doing your final round of beta testing, which is UAT. Alright? Now, we may also be doing conversions, trainings, rollout. All of these things are happening. It will happen in multiple iterations, right? If you finish one iteration, you think you have tested it all, you have trained everybody, you've deployed it, well, you meet. Is everyone satisfied with what you've tested, right? Are you okay with the training? Has everyone received it? Is it deployed on every computer? If the answer is yes, then you're ready to close out the project, right? You need to then say, well, did I complete all the documentation for this project? You evaluate your entire project. What could I have done better? Is there anything that I missed? And then you can close it out. If, however, one of the answers come back as, wait a minute, nope, I don't think the product, the software has a problem here. Or that, no, I'm not satisfied with the training. Or no, some of the users, 2 users missed the training, right? Or we could not deploy on 2 of those naval ships. What does that mean? Another iteration. If you don't have all your changes documented, right? Or if your design document or one of your models still needs to be updated, what does it mean? You need another iteration. Everyone clear? Now this is something that we talked about in our last class. Remember when we were talking about our models? That they are engineering workflows, right? Process components that are directly related with the building of the software are called engineering workflows. Those are business modeling, requirements gathering, analysis, design, implementation, test, and deployment. And then we have the admin workflows, supporting workflows, project workflow, change management, and environment. Do you remember these? Nehal, right here. Play back the recording. When we talked about the process components, we only had these until deployment. When we came to this model, we found 3 additional. And I mentioned why we have 3 additional. Okay? So, at this point, I'm going to give you all a 10-minute break because we're done with our methodologies. Now we will talk about process improvement methods. Okay? So a 10-minute break to all of you. I'm going to mute myself and we will talk about CMM, Capability Maturity Model, when we come back. All right, guys. 10 minutes. All right, everyone, are you all there? Yeah, I just get 2, 3. Guess we'll just wait a couple more minutes for everyone else to join, okay? Okay. Thanks, Lipsy. How's he doing though? Oh, he did. Actually, just recently too, another 2. I'm glad. Another 2 of my students got a job. Hold on one second. Let me see. Who was it? I get so many emails. Let me see. Just last week, I received another one, and the week before that. hold. Should be able to find it. It's somewhere in all of these emails that I've received. Look, this is one of those, right? This is my March 27th batch that I ended in the second week of May. Actually, 6 weeks. So March 27th is end of March, right? So April, May, mid-May is when they ended. And June, July, August. Like I said, remember guys, what did we say? And I think I told you this, right? If everything goes well, it will take you about 8 to 12 weeks to get a job. Do you remember that conversation that I had? Right? So this one also just got a job, and there's another one. I mean, there are so many of those. Almost every week I get a new email somewhere. Never mind, but I mean, there's another person that just got a job, so I'm really excited for them. And I'm great, I mean, I'm glad my Gurpreet is doing so good. All right. You know, I expect the same from all of you. It is some part me, remember, guys. But majority is you. I can only teach you, right? But you are the ones who must take must go for the technical interview and pass that face to face, right? So I can only teach you the concepts, but you have to take it from there. So those who get a job is It's your hard work. And this is what I've seen, that people who have done all their assignments on time, stay with me. As I finish a session, play back the recording, okay? And especially you guys, because you have a 1 week break, I really expect you to play back both recordings for twice at least. Okay? Now I have another batch that is Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. They can play back twice. They only have, they can only play back one. However, they're going at a very slow pace too. Their class is 7:30 to 9:30. Yours, on the other hand, is typically 3 to 3.5 hours long, right? Every class. So in 1 week you finish, or in 2 days you finish 6 hours, 7 hours, and they finish it in 3 classes, right? The same 7 hours. They finish it over 3 classes. So theirs is a smaller pace or a slower pace than yours. And hence your classes will be done faster as well. Okay? So I do expect you to play back the recordings at least twice during the course of a week. And stay with me. Do all my assignments on time so that you are ready for mock interviews. Even when we think we are ready, guys, it will take you an extra week because our low canvas team will come back and say, all right, this is where you fumbled. This is what I want you to improve on, etc., etc. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So let's talk about our next topic, which is capability maturity model. So basically, once we had RUP methodology, right, then we started talking about quality software. Imagine if I were the CIO of a company and I don't have that kind of projects that will enable me or let me do RUP, implement RUP. But I would still like to deliver quality projects. How do I go about doing that? I mean, just because I'm using waterfall, does it mean that I don't have to deliver quality products, quality software? No. Right? So even if you follow Agile or you follow waterfall or extreme programming, the underlying implied is always that you must have that the outcome should be of high quality, right? How do I evaluate? Where am I as far as quality is concerned, right? What should I do to improve the quality? How do I figure that out? If I am not following RUP methodology, now if I'm following RUP, I know what to improve on, right? Every iteration I'm working on that. But if I am not following RUP, then how do I improve? So with that in mind, Carnegie Mellon put together a model, right? And they called it capability maturity model. What does that mean? Well, how the quality of the software, right, depends on the capability of the team, the project team, the capability of the company. Yes or no? Right? Maturity. The more mature you are, the chances are that you will make less mistakes. Correct? Right? And so they came up with the capability maturity model. Now, when they came up with this model, they developed it for different disciplines, right? Even within software development, there are so many different disciplines. For example, we have the people component. Right? Software development, this just does not happen by itself, does it? So people that are developing new software, if they are capable, then the quality of your software also goes up, doesn't it? Now, even when we have people, imagine, if you have a testing team, people are all capable, right? If they use automated testing tools, would you think that would improve the quality of the software even further? Actually, it will, Nehal. You know why? Because there are some calculations, right? As a tester, I may be very capable. However, do you think you will ever be able to get to the level of efficiency or the, calculation and all as far as, and compete with a computer? What you can do in 8 hours, the testing software can probably do in a fraction of seconds, right? If you are more efficient, then do you think you are more mature? Yes, Neha? Okay. So even when we have, capable people around, remember, people, all we bring to the table is our skills, right? We must write test scripts for the software as well. However, the efficiency of the software also increases our performance, right? We become more and more capable as we use better and better tools. So there is the people component, then there is the software quality assurance component. Same goes. If you're developing a software, right, then you must have some capability. If you're buying a software, do you think the same model that you would normally apply for developing a software, that same model would apply for if you were building or buying a software? Isn't there a difference between building it versus buying? So the quality standards, right, the capability standards that I have for building will not apply. They'll be different, right? The outcome will be the same. The software must be of high quality. However, the standards that I hold them to are going to be, or hold these people or the evaluation process for both are going to be different, right? Building versus buying. Correct? So CM or Carnegie Mellon came up with the capability maturity model for different disciplines and functions. Now, when we started applying these, right, then we realized that there were sometimes an overlap. Right? Look at software quality assurance. Look at systems engineering. The software development is not happening just by itself. We're talking about people, right? Software quality assurance, right? It already has the people component in it. Now, when you are evaluating the product overall, what are you supposed to do? Are you supposed to ignore? If you have the same people component twice, are you supposed to ignore it and just keep it once? Or are you supposed to apply it 2 times, right? Is it supposed to be x and x equals 2x? Or is it supposed to be, or people, and just so you assume that it is required, you apply the capability maturity model for people anywhere you see it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes or no? No, not exactly? Okay. Let's talk about the systems engineering. You're developing a software. So when you are developing a software, you need to use 2 different capability maturity models, right? Systems engineering and people. Yes or no? So systems engineering plus people. Now systems engineering, it already has the people component in it, doesn't it? Can you develop a software without people? No. So part of systems engineering is people, and then you have the people component in addition to it. So does it mean that you must apply, does it mean that it becomes, in an algebraic equation, does it mean that you must apply the people capability maturity model twice or just once? Do you understand what I'm saying now, Neha? Okay? That's right. That would be the logical explanation, right? that you would apply it twice. However, if you look at the model itself, you will find that when you apply people's capability CMM model separately versus if you apply it as part of systems engineering or as part of software quality assurance, that there are certain things that are contradictory. Okay? So when that people component is part of systems engineering, then the people component has certain features that do not that are not exactly the same as if you applied it separately. Are you clear? Everyone, are you clear? So what they found out was that even though this was useful, this model was useful, because of the various disciplines and functions and capability maturity models per discipline and function, there was an overlap. Sometimes they were contradictory, okay, and they lacked standards. So, and you couldn't just apply them for one project. So what Carnegie Mellon did was they integrated the model. They integrated certain, all these, and they came up with their integrated model, which is called as the CMMI. Okay? So now you don't have to worry about, this is a project that we are buying some piece of software, we're building some, and we have a people component in here. So what exactly, how many times are we adding the people component and whatnot? You don't have to worry about any of it. They've come up with an integrated model that you can simply use. Are you clear, all of you? Ryan, Srinivas. Okay. Let's see. All right. Of the slide for what, Nehal? It is, I am sharing that slide. Don't you guys see it? How about the others? Don't you see my slide? You're still seeing RUP, is it? Okay, Trishma can see it. Capability maturity model. How about Ryan? Lipsy can see it too. Okay, so it means that there is a latency at your end. Okay, all right. Where was I? All right, so we know about the integrated model. Now, whether integrated or not, the model itself has 4 principles. All right, it is based on 4 principles, and the model applies irrespective of whether you're using the integrated model or the individual model. It is based on some basic principles, and the same principles apply. Okay, so the 4 principles are the following: that 1, you can become mature, right? But maturity is an evolutionary process. It is possible, but it takes time. We all understand that, right? Growing up, yes or no? We all mature over time, don't we? But it is a process. We must evolve. No one is born mature, correct? So it is an evolutionary process. Second principle is, while you are evolving, there are 4 distinct stages. Okay? Actually, there are 5 distinct stages. These 5 stages are called the levels. They are level 1 through 5. And these levels are indicators of your maturity. Alright? Next, in order to attain a certain level, you must already have accomplished the levels prior to it. So if you want to be able to run, you should know how to crawl and walk as well. Can you start off running without learning how to crawl or walk? No. If you lose the capability of walking, do you think you would still be able to run? No. Okay? So it means that some things must be done prior to attaining the next level. Lastly, if you don't maintain maturity, if you don't sustain it, it will go away, right? If you don't maintain your quality, do you think it will maintain it by itself? If you stop running, right, exercising, do you think your body will still be able to run the 10 miles that you used to run? It will continue to have that capability? No, right? It erodes. So maturity will erode unless it is sustained. In order to keep this maturity at a certain level, it requires continuous effort. So these are the 4 principles. Are you clear so far? Okay. So how does this apply? Well, if I am the CIO of the company, right, and I want to see how can I improve the quality of my software, what am I supposed to do, right? Well, I can individually, of course, I can individually look at the project and figure out what part of the objective was done, but how much of the objective did we meet? But does it tell me how to improve? No. So what can I do? Well, I can reach out to one of the partners, right, or one of these companies that have partnered with Carnegie Mellon and are capable of evaluating you and your processes as a company. Okay? Reach out to them. Of course, there's a transaction fee involved, right? They're going to consult for you. And once you have made that agreement, this company is going to assign a team for you, an evaluation team. They're going to come to your office, to your company, and understand your processes. What methodology you use, what templates do you use, what kind of projects have you had in the previous, how long have you been in business, how long have you been doing this project, what are the different kinds of projects that you do, what's the size of the project, the length of these projects, right? Have you changed your methodology in the past few years? What's the kind of tools that you use? So they'll ask all these questions. Based on your answers, they will put together a list of criteria. So they will say, well, we want to see. So you say that you have, the majority of your projects are medium size, up, $200,000 to $500,000, 6 to 9 months long. And you have used waterfall in the past and switched to agile in the past 1 year. So we want you to submit your SDLC policy, waterfall, what you were using prior to agile, and your agile policy. How are you implementing agile? We want to see all your templates. We want to see, 10 projects, small projects, 8 medium-sized projects, 2 large projects, of which X number should be using waterfall methodology, Y number remaining should be in agile methodology, etc., etc. Okay? List of people that have worked on your waterfall project, couple of people that have worked on your agile project. Business sponsors or stakeholders that use the software that was developed in waterfall, business users, or software that was developed using Agile, whatnot. Okay, so they will give you this entire list. Based on that list, you will get them the material that they are looking for. Are you with me so far? Okay. So what happens here is, it doesn't matter whether you've been in business for 17 years or 30 years or 18 years, right? They are looking at you, your criteria, and giving you a set of criteria. So it's customized. What it also means is that now it doesn't matter. You could have been here for the past 100 years, right? This is your criteria, and now I can compare you to another startup company that has only been in business for the past 5 years. Yes or no? Because I'm evaluating the first company that's been here 100 years. I've given it a different set of criteria, right? Proportional to the size of the company, to the size of the project. So it's all proportional. Now can I compare, can I give you, level, when I give you a level 1 and the other company a level 1, it means the same thing, correct? Yes or no? Alright? So they come up with this evaluation criteria and they give you a certain time frame to submit these documents. Once you submit these documents, they start systematically. They first understand the SDLC methodology. Remember, every company has their own unique implementation of waterfall, of Agile, even Agile. Okay? So they will first understand your process, look at your template, roles and responsibilities, who's supposed to be doing what. Then look at your project, right? And check to see if those roles and responsibilities, whoever was supposed to be doing what at which time, if those activities have been completed, all right, by the right person. So if your SDLC document said that the scope document will be completed by the project manager in initiation phase, do we have a scope document for that project? Okay, are you clear so far? Next, they will evaluate your templates. Are the templates good enough? Remember, the templates are tools, right? So the first, they looked at the process. Are you following the process? What is the process and are you following it? Then they're going to check your tools. Are the tools the correct tools? If the tool is not correct, if your template is not correct, do you think you will have quality requirements in there? No, right? So then they check your tools, the template. Next, they check the quality of the template. So whoever filled that template out, whoever wrote that document, was it properly filled? So now we have the people component. How capable is the person doing this activity? All right? Are you clear so far? So they would do that for the technical design. They'll do that for the solution design, test document, everything. What are the testing tools that are being used? Right? And whatnot. So they evaluate your entire tool set. Then they interview the client. Is this what you asked for? What did you like? Lessons learned. So they go through the entire process and then give you marks accordingly. All right? And assign a level to you. So when this PMM evaluation is done, it really is for an organization. It is an organizational maturity model. Okay? It is not specific to a project, but at the organization in general. It's not project specific, unlike RUP. Are you clear? Now, as a CIO, I may not have that kind of money to hire or engage with one of these partners, CMM partners, right? So there is a cheat sheet, a checklist. I can do that evaluation personally without paying anybody. Now, when I do that, of course, there's a risk that it may not be as objective, right, as if you got somebody else. It's a self-evaluation. However, an evaluation is an evaluation, right? So when you do an evaluation, it tells you what are your weaknesses, and per this evaluation, where do you stand? The capability maturity model also tells you what should be your next goal and how should you get there. Are you clear so far? Okay. So the 5 levels of CMM are level 1 through level 5. If in the evaluation you get a level 1, it means that you are at a stage, ad hoc stage. What that means is that true, you are doing software development, right? And of course, for evaluation purposes, are you going to submit a document for a project that's failed? No, right? So even though you've submitted some 10 documents for me, right? Submitted 10 projects, really, not documents, but 10 projects for evaluation. But based on my evaluation, based on my reviews, I can tell that it wasn't because you have a good policy that you were successful. You don't have good policies in place. You don't have good tools in place. You only got successful by sheer luck. It's either sheer luck or it is that you just got, you have a great team. Everyone is so good at what they're doing that all of these projects were successful. Now, even if you had a great team, can you guarantee that the next project that you do will also be successful as this? No. Why? Because I may be great, but I can fall sick, right? I can be stressed at home. I may have family issues, right? I may quit. I may find a different job. When I leave this company, then is it that same team anymore? If I'm distracted, or maybe I'm not distracted, but the next project is very complex and I'm having trouble doing it, right? Some things come easily, naturally to you. Some things you take, it's not as easy and natural, isn't it? Right? So even if the team was the same, can you guarantee that my output will still be of as good a quality as before? Especially if there's nothing to guide me. No standards, no processes, policies set by the company to maintain a certain level of quality. No. So that is level 1, which is ad hoc. Are you clear? So what does it mean? In order to get to a level 2, what do you have to do? What do you have to improve on? You must improve on your processes, standards, tools that you use, right? So in order to get to a level 2, you must do all of those. Plus, of course, your team should be good. Remember, you can't just say, oh, I can hire crappy people and still expect my projects to be successful, right? So you still need a good team, but in addition to that, you must revise your policies, standards, templates, right? So those companies, or if in the evaluation you are at level 2, which means that, yes, you are managing your requirements properly, right? Managing requirements meaning people are doing their jobs. You have the tools to do, properly gather requirements, right? document them, analyze them, validate them, right? So you have proper processes in place, tools in place, you're doing proper project planning, right? Again, people and tools, you're tracking your project, people and tools, right? Quality assurance, people and tools, yes or no? So you have good standards and policies, right? In order to get from a level 2 to a level 3, if you're following the process and tools, right, and your people are good, sure, your quality is good. Do you think you can improve? Absolutely, right? How can I improve? How or when I improve, I get to the level 3, right? So what can I do to improve? If my policies are good, my people are good, and I still want to improve, then I need to invest in my people some more, send them for more training, right? There's stuff that we learn every day, don't we? Stuff that we've not used in years, but do you think if you got a refresher course that it would help you? So I'm going to invest in my people, right? I'm going to send them for training programs. I am going to do some peer reviews. So you do a certain process, right? Whether it is you put together a project plan as a project manager, or you do some testing. You do it, I review it. I do it, you review it. What happens? Things that I miss, you catch. Things that you miss, I catch. Do you think the quality of the software goes up? Yes. Right? Another way to improve is, let's assume that I am a business analyst, right? And you are a developer. Or you are the business analyst, I'm the developer, right? If you were to ask me, Pooja, what can I give you, right? How can I improve on my requirements that will, in such a way that it will help you design better? And if I told you, well, you know what, if you can give me this information or give me more details here, then, I really need this information. Do you think the quality of my software went up? So intergroup coordination, right? If we do team building exercises, project focus and project definition, what is it that we know, right? We define it further. Why are we doing this project? Not just, just for the sake of it, but we have a fixed goal in mind. Do you think the quality of the software will go up? Right? So that is how you get to a level 3. So these are the various things that you would have to do if you've been given a level 2 and you want to get to a level 3. If you've been awarded a level 3, it means that you're already doing all of this, right? And I can tell because I can see when you wrote a requirements document, I can see that you made a revision based on feedback from the development team, right? You added certain sections, you added more details. That you added more details or you clarified certain things because of peer review. I have proof that you went for more training, and what you learned in the training, the documents and your work, really, not just the document. Your work reflects that training. So even if it was a tester and he went for some kind of training, right? QA training, advanced QA training, and he applied it. If I can see that he applied what he learned, then you are at level 3. On the other hand, even if you did submit evidence that yes, the business analyst went for training and the QA tester went for training and the developer went for training, but none of the documents, none of the work, right? Whether it is the tester's work or the developer's work or the business analyst's work, I don't see any change, any improvement because of the training, do you think I would still award you a level 3? No. So it's not about just ticking the boxes. I should have proof, evidence that you're applying it. Okay? So it does not just apply to level 3, but it applies to level 2 as well. So when I improve my processes, I improve my templates, I must see evidence that you are using those templates, right? Following the processes properly. If not, then I'm going to stick you at level 2 again, or level 1 again. Okay, I must see improvement. If I don't see improvement, you're stuck at the same level. So if you have been awarded level 3, do you think you can improve any further? Absolutely. Level 4 can be attained if you can do similar projects that you've done in the past, right, in lesser time and lesser money. And the number of bugs, right, issues, problems that you have with the system are fewer than before. Yes or no? Do you think that you're becoming lean or more efficient is also improving the process? Okay. Level 4 is called managed. Okay. In here, you're doing quantitative process management and software quality management. Quantitative is where you're doing it in lesser time and lesser money. Quality management is where the number of bugs and issues that you had. So in the past, your projects typically, right, you had 10% bugs. So if you had 100 requirements, 10 of those had issues, right? Now, for same similar kind of project, 100 requirements, you only have 8 issues. Do you think you are more managed now? Your quality went up, didn't it? Yes, no, maybe. Guys, give me just 1 minute. Sorry, guys, it's just a regular Saturday or weekend. Everybody has 10,000 questions to ask of me. So, level 4. Now, if you have been assigned a level 4, can you improve any further? Absolutely. So long as you have bugs in the system, it means that you can improve some more, right? Level 5 is optimizing. Here, what we're saying is, we can prevent all defects, period. We don't have any defects, 0 bugs. If we have 0 bugs, right, and the process, technology change management process, I mean, when we say defect prevention, technology change management, and process change management, it's all managed properly, right? Remember, there are some methodologies where change is not allowed, right? Others, change is allowed. If it is allowed, then you are managing it, optimizing it. So instead of having 10 changes, you only have 1 or 2, right? You're still able to meet all your deadlines, your project success criteria. You have no bugs. That is the level 5. Can you get any better than that? No. Okay? Now, to be at a level 5, it means that you must meet the criteria that have been set for level 1, 2, 3, 4 as well. Can you do without good people? Can you be at a level 5 without good people? No. Can you be at a level 5 without having good processes and policies and tools in place? No. Can you be at a level 5 without having your team go for trainings, peer reviews, intergroup coordination? No, right? Same goes. I mean, so whatever the level is, if you're at level 4, it means that you must, it is level 4 equals level 3. Okay? Alright? Everyone clear so far? Now, CMM, right, it is a certification. It is not a one-time certification. You must get praised every 3 years. Okay? So it is a long-term commitment that a company makes when they reach out to one of those CMM partners and get certified. It is a long-term commitment. Now, there is no guarantee. You may be awarded. Everyone typically starts out at level 1. Typically, there's no way that you could start out at level 2 or level 3. Right? You just can't skip the crawl phase at all, right? So you will start out at level 1. You may reach the level 2 in the next, when you go for reappraisal after 3 years. And then again, after another 3 years, even though you're hoping for a level 3, do you think is there a guarantee that you would be at a level 3? No. You could be stuck at level 2 for 3 years, 10 years, 15 years, until you prove, I have evidence that you are ready, you're doing all the things required to be at a level 3. Okay? Of course, it means that if you are expecting to be recertified, all the projects in those 3 years, right, must be done properly. Yes or no? Because I will evaluate a set of those projects that you do in the next 3 years. Am I going to evaluate the old projects anymore? The ones that I've already evaluated before? No, right? I will need a fresh sample, and that sample is going to come from the projects that you do between the evaluations. The last time I did an evaluation and this time that we are ready for an evaluation. Are you clear? So this is an ongoing, continuous process. The management must be committed, right, towards reappraisal every 3 years. They must be committed to improving, even though they've been stuck at level 2 or level 3 for three turns, right, for the past 10 years. They must be committed towards attaining the next level. Because if you stop, what happens? You get off the bus, right? And you go back to what level do you go back to? Level 1. Everyone clear? So that was capability maturity model. Now, capability maturity model definitely puts a very, this is a very high goal to achieve, right? Remember, level 5 is no defects, 0 defects, correct? So that is a very, very high goal. So CMM in general is going towards the best that you can do. Now, can all companies do that? Is it possible? Is it even realistic? No. But still, right, they would like to have a minimum quality level, right? Do you think they'd be able to sell? Oh, we're going to go there, Srinivas, in a minute. Okay? Do you think they'd be able to sell their products, their software, if they did not have a basic minimum quality level? No. So how do we know what is the basic minimum quality level? Well, with that in mind, ISO 9000 was set up. ISO stands for International Standards Organization. Okay? It is a set of guidelines for all different domains, right? And the different domains also include computer software engineering. Okay? This guideline is basically a set of industry standards, the minimum industry standards that must be followed for that domain or industry. Are you clear? So it does not matter whether this software was built in India, if it was built in China, if it was built in Bulgaria, if it was built in Africa somewhere. These are the industry standards that will be followed. These are the bare minimum standards, right? And as I mentioned, it applies to the industry. Now, software development is an industry, isn't it? Okay? So we have ISO guidelines for software development as well. Now, ISO 9000 is a series. Okay? So as and when we have more specifications, we add more. All right? So it just tells you what the guidelines should be, right? What are the standards? How you maintain those standards is up to you. For example, one of the ISO standards is that when you make database changes, right? At first, there must be a request that has been approved request. No one can make database changes without there being a request, an approved request. So you must have proper approvals for it. 2, second guideline is when you have a change to be made, before you make the change, you must make a copy of the database so that if for any reason while you're making a change, something goes wrong, your files get corrupted, then you can go back, revert to your old database. Is that clear? Another guideline is after you have made the change, a peer must review and a manager must approve of the changes. So if you are a database admin and I'm a database admin, if I make a change, then you must review my work. That yes, the buddy system, right? So you must go through it. Say, oh, was this done, this done, this done, this done? Okay, all right. You reviewed that I did not miss anything. And then a manager must approve that yes, my team has done this, someone has reviewed it, and I approve of this change. Are you clear? So these are the guidelines. Now, how you implement them. So when we say, right, that it must be approved by who? What will be approved? What documentation, what is the document that must be approved? Where will the document reside? How will it get approved? That you as a company must decide. What is the process? So long as you are meeting the guidelines, it is fine. Okay, same goes. Where, once I've made a copy of the database, how I make a copy of the database, up to me. Where I store that copy of the database, up to me and my company, right? The company directions. Who reviews, what is the title, right, of the person who can make a database change? Up to the company. Another person with the same title, remember it has to be a peer that must review, right? What is the title? What are the different peers that can review your work? Up to the company. Who's the manager? Now when we say that based on our hierarchy, right? So if I have a DBA, maybe he reports to the IT manager. Maybe he reports to a tech lead. So who is this person's manager? Can the ISO tell you that? No, right? Every company's hierarchy is different, isn't it? So how that process works is up to you. But these are the basic minimum standards that must be followed. Are you clear so far? Okay. Now this one, ISO, even though we say ISO certified, it is not a certification process. Okay. It just means that you have done the paperwork, you have submitted the processes on how you are meeting those standards, industry standards, and this ISO partner has reviewed your process and approved them that yes, they meet the guidelines. Are you clear? Now once your processes have been approved, it's up to you to follow those processes properly. Are you clear, all of you? And so long as you follow those processes properly, you will maintain the minimum level of quality. Are you all clear? Okay? So do you see the difference between CMM and ISO? All right. So this is what, Srinivas, this is what you were asking for, right? So RUP is a software improvement process. CMM is also a software improvement process, and so is ISO, right? However, RUP is also an SDLC model. CMM and ISO are not SDLC models, right? There is no development and, SDLC development in SCMM and ISO, are they? They are not development models, that's correct? It does not matter which methodology you use. So long as you meet, in order to get CMM certified or to get ISO certified, correct? Is it methodology specific or project specific? No. RUP, because it is a methodology, right, uses object-oriented approach, which is object-oriented analysis, object-oriented design, object-oriented development, right? It is iterative process. It has lots of tools. Do we have any tools for CMM and ISO to improve the processes? No, right? RUP is very expensive because of all the iterations. Now CMM, of course, every 3 years you must get recertified, reappraised, right? There is a fee that you must pay. However, on a project basis, are you spending the same amount of money per project as you are for per project using RUP? No, right? So in 3 years, even if you've done 100 projects, right, your reappraisal fee is probably just going to be still 25 grand. Correct? RUP, every project is probably going to be $250, $1,000 or 1 million. Every project. So compared to RUP, CMM is relatively very cheap, right? Easy certification and low cost. ISO is even lower, isn't it? It's a one-time. You one-time set up the processes in order to maintain minimum quality, right? RUP requires training. CMM, is there any training required? ISO, any training required? No. Now CMM requires long-term management support, right? They must be geared towards reappraisal every year. They must be committed towards it, right? ISO, we don't have that issue at all. CMM, very high goals. ISO, minimum quality standards, industry standards, right? CMM, is there one set of requirements, evaluation criteria? No. It changes per company, it changes per evaluation year, right? Because if you are at a level 1 there, they are evaluating you whether you qualify for level 2. So the evaluation criteria changes every time you go for a reappraisal. Yes or no? ISO, do the evaluation criteria changes? Do they change? No, it is industry standard, right? They don't change at all. ISO, is there anything to validate after you have been certified that you are actually following the processes that you listed? No. In CMM, they are validating every 3 years, aren't they? Right? So, with ISO, the chances of fraud are very high. Okay? And I know I'm going to give you a very bad example, but guys, truth is truth, right? We've got to be very objective. I'm sure all of you have heard of, this, there's so many buildings and dams and whatnot in all the developing nations. Some of those in India too, right? Even though they say that this is ISO certified and this airport and this highway was built by an ISO certified company, right? Do you think some of those bridges and buildings and theaters and whatnot, they collapse? Have any of you heard of those? If they followed the minimum standards, do you think they should have collapsed? No. What does it mean? That even though they have received they are ISO certified, they know what the process is, they're not following it, right? Okay, sure, all of you've gone to dollar stores. Have you picked up some software, digital, electronics at the dollar store in different countries, right? Do all the software or the digital electronics that you pick up at the dollar store, small stuff, calculators and watches for kids and toys, do they always work? Have you noticed a small sticker saying ISO OK, approved at the back? What does it mean? They're not following the process. So chances with fraud with ISO are higher. Okay? CMM, can they do the same thing? No. Re-evaluation, remember? Right? So who really typically opts for CMM? CMM is useful, especially in the software industry. It is useful for consulting companies. Why? Because that is their selling feature. How do they tell? How do you think TCS markets themselves? Oh, hire us, we are a better company than Wipro, right? Or Wipro says we are a better company than Infosys. How do you think they come up with that? I'm sure both of these companies have had, some very successful projects, right? How do you know which is a better company? by looking at their CMM level. So if you have a company that is at a CMM level 2, another one is at a CMM level 3, which one are you going to hire? Level 3. Okay? Are you clear? ISO, all small shops, right? Everybody is supposed to be following ISO standards. In addition to being CMM certified, right? Even if you are CMM certified, you should be at least maintaining the minimum standards, correct? Srinivas, does that answer your question? All right. So we have talked about methodologies, right? And one of the things that I mentioned is that when you join a company, the company will have a PMO, right? And even if they don't have a formal PMO, they must have already figured out, they know what methodology they want to use, right? They will always have that. However, there could be this off chance that you are hired by a startup. No PMO, they don't know what methodology, they don't care, or they expect you to suggest a methodology to them. Okay? Do you think that is possible? Right? So how do you suggest a methodology? And this is real time, real life, right? The same can be in an interview. They can ask you, so which is the better methodology, waterfall or agile? Now guys, remember, there's no good or bad methodology, right? A methodology is just a method of following the SDLC. That's right, it depends. It depends on a variety of factors. If a certain methodology does not work for you or the projects were unsuccessful, it's not because the methodology was wrong, but something that we were not following the methodology properly. Okay? So in real life, if you are asked to evaluate which methodology is best for the company or suggest a methodology, or an interview question which says which is better, is the same thing. The process is an evaluation process. So the first thing you've got to do is you must understand, right? Are you looking for, that's right, Neha, you're absolutely correct. What is, what are the trade-offs? Are we looking for a predictive or traditional methodology, or we want something that is adaptable, right? Something that we want to, maybe, now when we say predictive or traditional, we are talking about low technical risk. The company does not want to take any risk where project scope, timeline, or budget are concerned. Now, if they can't take a risk, do you think any of the adaptive methodology, anything that will allow change, is a good methodology for them? No. Right? So if that is the case, then there are assumptions. You know what you're building. Your team is good. Everyone knows what they want, what they're building, requirements understood. Right? So if you want to keep technical risk low, you must have a good team. And if that's the case, then waterfall is best for you. Yes or no? If you're okay with some technical risk, but you still want to keep, you want a little adaptive, then what is the approach? Spiral. Right? Correct? Now, if you know for a fact that you don't know your requirements, it may change for sure, right? And I don't know, I'm not so sure about waterfall spiral. Then you have this huge bucket, right? Remember we learned what, 5, 6 methodologies and all. So which one is the best? Then you start putting together a matrix. All right? So what are you going to do? You will literally, how I have the description here, you will have the evaluation criteria right here. And then you will have rough, agile, scrum, extreme programming, whatever, whichever methodologies that you are evaluating. And then you will evaluate them. Okay? You may give weightage. Have you seen weighted things? One is strongest, 5 is weakest, 1 is most high priority, 5 is low priority. On the surveys, how we do a survey, right? That's the thing. So you must put together your criteria. When you say 1 through 5, is 1 strongly agree or 1 strongly disagree? What is it, right? And then you must go through the evaluation criteria. So I'm going to start bottom up, okay? How big or small is the project, right? You must know, and how complex it is, all right? So if it is a huge project, right, complexity is very high, right? Maybe, do you think extreme programming is the right methodology for you? Do you guys remember the notes on extreme programming? What does it say? Right here, what does it say? Do you see my screen on extreme programming? So if it is a huge project, very complex, is extreme programming the right thing for you? Maybe not, right? So you are going to award between 1 to 5 a number to it. Okay? Yes or no? Depending on your scale. Next. So you will do it for all, right? Is it a rough project? Maybe, right? Can we use Agile? Maybe. You can give it a 3 and a 3 or a 4 and a 4. Next, resource availability. Now what did we say? If you want to do a rough implementation, do you think we need people to be trained on the object-oriented approach? They should know the rough methodology. Yes. If you are looking to do Agile, should they know Agile Scrum? Yes. Do you have people? Do you have resources? Right? And when we say resources, I'm not just talking about people, but time and money. Do you have that as well to be able to do a rough project or an Agile Scrum project? So you will again assign a value between 1 through 5 or 1 through 10, however you are ranking it. Okay? Next, cost benefit. How much is it, if you did a rough implementation, how much is it going to cost you? And what is the benefit? For a website, if you're building a website, is it worth spending $3 million, $5 million on a website? Is it worth it? Do you get the benefit out of it? No. Is it worth doing it using rough methodology? No. So again, assign a value. All right? Then look more broad, on an organizational level. What is it that the company is trying to achieve? Are you trying to build quality software? If that is your strategic goal of the organization, then maybe RUP is the way to go, right? Is there any other methodology that focuses on quality? No. However, if the focus is build fast, develop fast, lots of customer feedback, then Agile Scrum may be a good methodology, right? So again, you assign values. You've got to understand what is the focus. Is it maintain your technical risk, or very fast development, or quality, or what is it? Are you clear? Lastly, what is the value this system brings to you? Okay? What is the value that it brings? Is it worth it? Worth for you to do a one-time project using RUP? Right? So you do this evaluation. Now, value chain analysis may be to your evaluation criteria, right? But you will then sum up the values that you have given. Now, if one is the highest, then the lower the score, the better the methodology, right? The more preferred it is. Yes or no? If one is highest, then anything that has a value of 5, some total value of 5, means that is the preferred methodology, correct? Guys, yes, no, maybe? And that's right. On the other hand, if 5 is the highest and 1 the lowest, then it is the other way around, right? So will you be able to suggest or recommend a methodology? Is that a logical approach? Yes or no? So this is how you would recommend or suggest a methodology. If asked in an interview, which is a better methodology, this is the answer you must give. All right? Or which methodology do you think is the best? Well, we don't think anything. We recommend based on logical analysis. All right? We don't have a preference one way or the other. You tell me you want this project done in waterfall, I will get it done in waterfall. You tell me you want it done in agile, I will get it done in agile. That is what you are selling. You are a business analyst. Okay? It does not matter what methodology. I will get